not admitted without parents or guardian.
Good evening, fans of fantastic films. Welcome once again to the Drive-In Asylum late movie. Tonight we're the late movie because we didn't come on till 11, and it's getting harder and harder to stay up late for me. I don't know about you, but this group really keeps me going. And welcome to my co-host Sam Panico once again from BNS
Hello,
About
everybody.
Movies.
Hello, I'm super excited about this movie. I love this movie, and I'm excited that there's a lot of people that haven't seen it, which is surprising.
I know that's always exciting because this movie is very I don't want to say maybe legendary isn't the right word, but notorious is probably a better way to say it.
It's something else. It depends on what mindset you want to come into it. If you're coming into it expecting it to only be a bad movie, then that's what you're going to get. You know me, I am a defender of these kind of movies, but I really love this movie, and not for like an ironic reason. I think there's something really cool to this movie because it really exists. It's my favorite genre. It's movies that exist on another planet and we're sent to our planet, and they have nothing to do with reality. Like there's not a lot that makes sense in this.
Yeah, to say the least, it's sort of one of those nightmare movies. And it's got that
Yeah.
regional low budget look to it, of course. It was made in El Paso, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really out of this world, to say the least.
It was a movie that was lost until 1993 when they were going through a bin of movies at Mystery Science Theater and found the movie. I talked to the Mads that worked on the show, and they said, literally, we found this reel that said Manos, the Hands of Fate. And they're like, that's Hands of Fate. But that sounds like, and they said, as we watched it, like we were 10 minutes in and we were like, well, this is definitely going on the show no matter what.
So, last weekend, the Super Drive-In Monsterama at the Riverside Drive-In in Vandergrift, PA. There were a lot of folks in the chat who were there.
Yeah.
Such as Chris.
I got to meet a lot of first-time folks that I hadn't met before, so that was really cool.
Chris Fasonic, Steve was there, Scott Porter, who I haven't seen him pop up in the chat yet, but he was at the drive-in last weekend.
Noel was there for a bit.
Noel
I saw
Ward.
Noel.
Yeah. Lots of stars came out to the drive-in, so it was really cool to see all of you there.
We had the best posse.
We had a really Becca, you said we had the best posse. We had a really good group of folks. Sean Collier was there too.
Sean, right. There were people I forgot. James was there. James Doc. I'm sorry. Doc was there. I don't think he actually comes to the chat, but he hung out with us for a little while at the drive-in.
And it was great seeing Bill and I sat outside and we braved the growing coldness to watch Horror Express together.
Ooh.
And laugh out loud a few times in our joy. It was just joyous watching of it. Like so excited as we watched it.
Yeah, that was a dream come true for me because, like I said a million times, and I'll say a million and one, ever since I was a kid, and watching that on a little 9-inch black and white TV and being mesmerized by it. I've never seen it on a large screen before, and it did not disappoint. It's a beautifully shot movie. You know, the thing that always flips me out the most about Horror Express is how obviously those outer sets of the train are miniatures.
Yeah.
But when you see that on a big screen, I mean, it still looks like a miniature, but it sort of loses a little bit of that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood quality to it, and it looks a little more otherworldly to see it that way.
I actually really like when movies use miniatures because I
Yeah.
just watched Earthquake again the other day, and it's like I seeing it now, out of the 70s, you're like, oh well, you can see where the effects are miniatures, because you know what, it's great. I don't care. And it felt the same way about Horror Express. That scene when they all turn into zombies and rise up behind the priest is really scary, and it's even scarier on a giant drive-in screen in the middle of the night.
Yeah, good times were had by all. And we also saw Tom Savini was there. He was like one space over from us at the drive-in.
All bundled up.
Yeah.
And Doug Bradley with a ghost jacket on. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was in the snack bar when one of the movies was on, and Doug Bradley was right behind me in line. He was
A couple
just
years ago,
hanging
I was urinating next to him, and it's very strange to turn to your right and see Pinhead next to you as you're trying to pee.
That's an experience you could only get at the Super Drive-In Monsterama, most likely.
Most likely, yeah. So yeah, it was pretty fun. Just a great night and great seeing people, and food was great, and it's just awesome. I have nothing but good things to say. The only bad thing I have to say is we talked about before, that drive home on Saturday night is the Saturday night, the Sunday morning is the saddest. It's like the coming back from your grandparents on Christmas. You got all your gifts, and like the joy of Christmas is over for a while.
Chris says that yeah, House of the Long Shadows, Pete Walker's House of the Long Shadows, was the only movie of the weekend that was actually projected in 35 millimeter. And you're right, Chris. It was a little pink, but I kind of liked that. And I lost sight of it after a while. I didn't notice it after like the first 10 minutes of the movie. I even forgot that the print looked so pink until you brought it up. So it's sort of, I think things like that add to the experience.
Is this the first time in your life that you've said I like a little pink, or is this sorry?
No, I don't have a problem with pink.
Sorry. It's not even the third segment. There won't be a third segment, so I got to jump ahead.
Yeah, it doesn't look good on me. That's why I don't wear pink.
Anywho, I was saying the purient reasons for pink, but you know me. Anyway,
I knew exactly what you meant.
I know. The other crazy thing about Manos, Chris hinted at it, to get back to Manos, is it was made as a bet. Harold Warren was an insurance and fertilizer salesman from El Paso, and he did some acting kind of on the side, and he met Sterling Silliphant, the guy who wrote in the Heat of the Night and Over the Top, which what a weird career to do both those movies. And he said, I really like to make a movie. And he said, well, they actually made a bet if they could do it. The funny thing is that they had $19,000 in their budget, and other than Warren, nobody was an actor. They were all from El Paso, and it played in one theater, the Capri Theater. Maybe did a loop around West Texas and New Mexico. Warren didn't even put a copyright on the movie, and they thought that was that. And then, as you can imagine, Frank Conniff, one of the Mads on Mystery Science Theater, found the tape, and he said it's at one point they found out that it played a ton on syndicated TV because it was as cheap to play on TV as $20 to rent it, the original film.
Yeah, I found all kind of TV listings for this when I was doing the ad gallery.
Yeah. And you could even buy the film via mail order at one point on film. Like that's how, it was very, very plentiful. But when I asked Conf about the movie, he said that it seemed like it was maybe a crime against humanity, but you couldn't be sure. but it had an atmosphere and a vibe that really made it appropriate for what we wanted to do with it. So I think that's probably a good way of talking about it. Uh, you know, my favorite character other than Torgo is Peppy the dog, but Peppy has a cruel fate coming. So if you have dog issues, maybe, yeah, this is really, I don't, you know what? If people haven't seen it, I don't want to go too deep into it because it really has, like you said, it has a dream logic, almost like an Italian dream logic, but not. And it also kind of predates the Manson family, and there's some Manson family vibes in it, which is kind of weird because it's from 1966. So, is it precognitive? Who can say? I just think El Paso's weird, right? That's probably the best way of saying it.
Why it didn't happen there first, we'll never know.
Yeah,
the Manson thing.
And, one of the other things I said is, people always talk. It's really hard to make an H.P. Lovecraft movie. I really think that this is as close as you get. It has that weird. Yes, okay, it's not the best movie I've ever seen, but it has this weird creeping dread, like where until the 2K came out from Synapse a couple years ago, you couldn't see anything past the blackness of the screen. Like it really feels like it exists in this void. The new one of it, you can kind of see lights in the distance, and that kind of ruined it for me because Manos's house really exists only in blackness when you see the really beat up versions of the print. And I really dig that it's just kind of we're floating in this world. And I really dig that.
Transmission from an alternate dimension is what we usually say about those kinds of things.
Yes. The only two people got paid on this movie. The girl who plays Debbie, she got a bicycle for doing it. And Peppy didn't get anything, but the Dobermans in it were all given a bag of dog food each. So these are the only people that were paid for the movie you're about to watch.
That's respectable. They had their priorities straight, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, those dogs are very intimidating, so I think that's why. Oh, as soon as I was saying that, Lee said it. That's crazy that she put it up on screen like almost as I said it. That's wild. So.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was a cosmic coincidence. So that's Manos, right? We're gonna have a lot of those. When everybody dreams tonight, it's gonna be like Prince of Darkness. We're all gonna have the same dream of Torgo dancing. You are receiving a transmission from the year 1999.
You have to stop events that are going to lead to the creation of Manos, Hands of Fate.
And then the door opens up and it's Cubby coming out instead of the anti-god. And Cubby's like coming out of that church door.
It's so easy to dump on this movie. It's extremely low budget and that I understand that probably the things that make the movie good to me are things that most people would make the movie bad. So, I just like watching movies like this. I don't know why.
The poster lines, which I'm sure you'll be showing in a bit, but excuse me, my favorite one's a cult of weird, horrible people who gather beautiful women only to deface them with a burning hand. I mean, if you don't want to watch that movie, what are you watching this show for? And this is my other favorite one because I defy anyone to do this. No one seated the last 10 minutes. We defy you to guess the ending and ask you not to divulge it. I've seen this movie a bunch of times, and I'm not going to divulge the ending because I don't really remember. It's so weird.
Yeah, they really were giving themselves a lot of credit there.
Oh, that ad is wonderful. The art's great for it.
It's beautiful.
This is for the premiere. Wow.
Yeah, well, there weren't many more screenings, Sam. I know that probably sounds crazy, but this movie only played a few places in Texas and New Mexico. I also it popped up somewhere in Honolulu as a B feature to something, and this was if I've seemed like I'm spacing out, I was looking for that ad, but never mind, because there will be a second segment. If I find it, then I can put it up on the screen. But
and you know what? The logo is really great too, with the hands coming out of the A and the N.
Oh yeah,
it's got a great logo. It's an inspired logo.
Well, this whole layout is very tabloid. It's like a Weekly World News cover.
Yeah. It looks like a Mondo movie based on this ad. Do you know what I mean? Like you have like women in gauzy outfits, and then you have like it's shocking. It's beyond your imagination.
Mondo Connie 4.
Oh, more. Yeah. I'm excited. Oh, I asked Becca if she'd wear one of those gauzy numbers for the movie, and she slapped me.
Over and over?
Repeatedly. Over and over again.
So it looks like these are all at the Capri, but here's one from the Apache Drive-In. And Monstrosity was the second feature, not the Andy Milligan Monstrosity, obviously, but you know, because this was 1966 that this movie finally saw the light of day. And for a few dates in areas very close to Texas, I don't know, there was probably like 2 prints. How many do you think they made of Manos?
Not many. 3, if that.
I wish I could find that ad from Hawaii. It's driving me crazy, but it just popped up as like, and I thought, oh, is this it? Yes, I did find it. This is for that Alan Funt movie. What do you say to a naked lady?
Really?
Yeah. My technology is not cooperating with me tonight. It is not, my friend.
Alan Funt made a lot of like movies where women somehow just showed up naked on his camera. Like, you know that somebody wanted to do a candid camera all along. So by the end, he was like, I'm going to just do it.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Monstrosity is the atomic brain.
Ah.
I couldn't remember the movie that actually was. There's something really weird going on with my connection and getting these images up on the screen tonight.
You're messing with Manos.
Gremlins. You know, maybe there's going to be a cocktail segment soon. Don't you think?
You want me to just go do that right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me stand up and get off into that other magical room called the kitchen. I'm that guy tonight. I wear a Manos shirt for the show. I don't care.
Oh, how uncool.
Usually I don't wear the concert shirt to the concert I'm going to, but you know.
This is like Rob Zombie handheld stuff going on here.
It is. It's better than the Munsters.
Ouch.
Yeah. I said it. I'm not afraid. What a controversial opinion. What a hot take to not like a Rob Zombie movie.
I just said on Becca's Facebook today that I like Rob Zombie's Halloween too, but I don't like his. Bad. I don't like Halloween. I just love Halloween too because it's so weird and it's somebody.
I like it. It is. It's just he just went for it. Whatever it is, he went for it.
It's somebody's demented version of a Halloween movie because he's not trying to remake anything. It's him just doing his own thing in a Halloween framework. So that's what I liked about it. And that weird like Mario Bava shit with the white horse. You know, that turned me on.
Yeah. I also like that he explains what the white horse is before he does it. he explains the symbolism. Now, can we have a bottle opener up here?
I'm doing my own thing tonight, by the way, with the cocktail. Because I didn't have time to go to the store.
That's how it is. I'll make my drink, and then we can all do our own thing.
It's not a twist off.
Not a twist off. I tried it with my teeth, and I broke all my teeth out. All right, so
too bad that didn't happen on camera.
Tonight's drink is the official cocktail of Texas, the Pomona, but I'm calling it Peppy Mona after Peppy, the dog from this movie. Probably are. I assume Peppy's not with us anymore. You know, the dog's
in spirit.
In spirit, maybe. Let me grab something to pour this into. Here we go. Anyway, this one's really simple. We're going to start with an ounce of lime juice.
Thank you, Steve Olson, for putting the recipe up.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Steve. He's the best. All right. We got an ounce of lime juice. I squeezed my own grapefruit juice today because I'm fancy.
That is
Anyway,
fancy.
2 ounces of grapefruit juice. And we're gonna do an ounce of tequila. But you know what? If I go a little more, don't judge. There we go. All right. And then finally, this is where this one gets a little goofy. We're going to do an ounce of maple syrup in it. 0.5 ounces. An ounce of maple syrup feels like way too much. All right. Hopefully that'll probably balance out the grapefruit. It's covered up.
This is becoming a highlight of the broadcast. Your cocktail shaking.
Oh, thank you. I'm working on it. I'm pouring this out very slowly. You know what I learned last week at the drive-in? If you're going to drink a lot in public, maybe don't start with absinthe.
Yeah, absinthe. Chris Fisonic. I said it right this time. He brought some absinthe, and it just knocked me right on my ass from the very first shot.
Yeah.
It was
like empty stomach, like let's drink it.
I don't think even moonshine ever did anything like that to me.
No. You got the green fairy in you. All right, here we go. We're going to top this off with a little bit of
Some have said
pink grapefruit. And look at this. Look how fancy I am.
You are fancy, Sam Panico.
Look at
That's
that.
what I love about you.
So there we go. Man, this camera in this light, you can really see how red my face gets after a shower. It looks like some kind of creature. Anyway.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing you have going on there.
I know. It's like it's what happens when you scrub your face really hard. And also, Becca slapped me a lot. So see, you got like finger marks above my eye. Anyway. Pazuzu, everybody.
My drink is apple cider with some vanilla vodka in it.
That moonshine apple we had last week was really strong and yet did not taste strong at all.
If this isn't suitable, I've never actually done this before. So if it's not suitable, I've got this shot of Fireball hanging around. So,
oh man, that's awesome.
I might add that as well. So I found that.
That's a good idea.
I found that ad I was looking for.
Oh, awesome.
What do you say to a naked lady? And it's the X-rated version, of course, because I think they re-edited it for an R. And the second feature is Manos Hands of Fate. So this is pretty amazing. Like, it's from Honolulu, 1970. July 1970 is when you could.
I wonder how that print got over there. That's crazy, actually.
It kind of makes you think.
Yeah. What's funny is I paused for a second. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. I was paused for a second.
Are you there?
It's interesting about Hawaii. I interviewed the Cousins brothers that made Slaughter Day, which is out from just came out from Visual Vengeance.
Oh, you mean Slaughter Day?
Yes. And they grew up in Hawaii on the islands, and it's crazy because their influences are so unlike anything else that we would get. It's a lot more Japanese movies and Shaw Brothers and stuff that played in theaters there. It wasn't even on TV, but played in theaters. So they had a really different. It's funny. So I said, "Well, how did you guys do your effects?" And they're like, "Did you read like the Dick Smith books and stuff?" And they're like, "We didn't know who he was when we made this movie. We knew El Mariachi and we knew Evil Dead, and that was about it." That's what they told me. So,
and they did it. They made it happen. It became real.
They did. It's I actually really like it. So, But
I admit I haven't watched it yet because I've been.
I'm really excited for you to see it because it really feels kind of like what's the Peter Jackson one, the one with the aliens in it. Is that That's not Brain Dead. It's
No.
You know which one I mean.
No, I don't know which one you mean.
The one where aliens use humans as fast food. Thanks, Bad Taste. I knew
Oh,
Chris
okay.
Yeah.
I kept
It
thinking
reminds me of
Street
that
Trash,
movie.
and that wasn't right.
Yeah, it's Street Trash now. Well, how many people said Bad Taste? Thanks, guys. But yeah, it really feels like Bad Taste, like how fast that movie moves, and also like the original Evil Dead, how quick everything goes. So that's kind of what I like about it. It's like 52 minutes and it flies. There's a lot going on. They also confirmed to me that they almost died about 3 times making it. Their trick for how people look when they get punched is they had a giant industrial inner tube. So they would literally throw people at the inner tube and then have them bounce and then capture them bouncing off it and cut it like right when they bounced. So them flying it through the air from getting punched is literally them getting thrown into an inner tube and then hitting the ground with no pads to catch them. So
that's real stunt work.
Yeah, I can respect that kind of stunt work for some reason, right? So
they must have hung out in Action Park.
It is very action. These guys would have gone to Action Park every weekend if they weren't in Hawaii. They also broke 3 cameras the first day. They dropped one off a cliff. They fell off a mountain with one, the side of a mountain with one. It's pretty wild. So excited, but yeah, it's crazy that Manos made it there, which I don't know how that would happen. I don't know why the Alan Funt movie would play there either, but it did.
There was lots of cool shit that played in Honolulu. I did a whole series from there on the Facebook page. I love finding all this weird stuff that plays. Like you know how it affected you when you saw what actually played Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I just love seeing it, like their shit was different than our shit, but it was all weird.
Mm-hmm.
This is assortment of movies that ended up showing there. And I learned a lot from Honolulu, like movies I had never heard of before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. In Honolulu, I assume got a lot more like Toho stuff too.
Yeah, they did. They got a lot of great Japanese movies, like the Japanese Dracula films, Lake of Dracula, and I can't think of the name of the other one. But yeah, they got those movies, and there were all sorts of Japanese horror films that I had never heard of. So that was exciting to find all that stuff, and I love learning about these things.
And you could have got Spam and watched Lake of Dracula.
And think about now I'm so lucky that I can discover things this way now. Like, I don't know how people knew about this stuff. If you didn't live through it, a lot of these movies just kind of fell off the face of the earth, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's just what I'm always fascinated about, like the Philippines. Half the movies made before 1960 are gone just because of the weather conditions there and the humidity. Like they've just destroyed anything that was on nitrate. It might be even more that's gone, So it's like there's a couple kaiju movies that came out there that there's posters for them, but that's it. There's a Japanese King Kong movie that came out after King Kong played there that was a Japanese remake from like 1937 that only a poster exists for, and the films were destroyed during the war. I love thinking about that stuff.
What was the Toho film? Or it might not have even been a Toho film. It was like a giant jellyfish up in space, and the tentacles were coming down into the atmosphere and grabbing things like planes.
Is it Matonga?
I'm not going to be able to remember it, but that movie really freaked me out. I thought that was one of the weirdest things I'd ever seen. And the green slime used to drive me crazy too, because it just made no sense to me as a child. Or as an adult.
I love that they recorded the song for it too, like a jazzy green slime.
There's lots of theremin in it.
The movie that really upset me as a kid is the Johnny Sacco full length movie, because I was raised on American superhero movies and was not prepared for the spoiler hero to die at the end of the movie and explode. And I remember I literally ran outside and just started crying, like I was so upset, like it just crushed me.
Dogora is the name of the monster I was thinking of. Thank you, David.
A lot of that Toho stuff ran on let's say like a Saturday afternoon super hosty kind of thing. That would have ran like at like 1:30, and I'm totally fine with it.
Green Slime was always on TV, and it just seems like a totally different movie, because I was into the Blob. I was really into Blob movies, and I wanted it to be a Blob movie, but it's only a Blob movie for half a second. It moves so quickly, and all of a sudden there's googly-eyed tentacle monsters on a space station. There's one coming out of your neck right now, Sam Panico. Ah.
Speaking of Japanese movies, I got to see the new Ultraman at Fantastic Fest.
I saw your write-up.
It's great. It's really good, and it's weird to see an Ultraman movie that has really great effects. They literally made CGI to look like suit effects. They did everything except put a zipper on the back of him. And there's a scene where one of the characters' desks has all different vehicles from Godzilla, other Toho movies, the Thunderbirds, and the Enterprise are all on his desk. So there's like these weird little nods to stuff, and like all the creatures are really designed to look like the originals, but they have like inside jokes. Like it's definitely like, not being cheesy, it's a love letter to that era of like men in suit movies and TV shows. It's really well done. Same guys that did Shin Godzilla that came out in I think 2016 or 2018.
Hey, you know what I forgot to mention at the beginning of the broadcast was our friends from Florida. There's a lot of people in the chat who watch the show, and they live in Florida, and we're glad to hear that all of you are okay. Dustin, Lee, and Chip Lammy also lives in, I think they live in Cocoa Beach. So they got hit pretty hard, but they're okay. Everybody checked in like on Facebook. Most people didn't suffer a whole lot of damage. So very glad to hear that.
I got a new writer at work, and she's from Orlando, and her first week of work, it was during this. She's like, "What do I do? I don't have any power." I said, "You're cool. Just take a day off."
Yeah.
What can you do?
It's scary.
Yeah. We just get rain and snow. That's all we get.
We've had some pretty bad shit here, though. Remember the tornado?
It took out Spotlight 88. How can I forget the tornado, Bill?
Was it the one that hit Mount Washington?
The one before that is the one. It was the one from like 88 was the one that took 89 is the one that took out Spotlight 88.
Yeah, there's one that hit just outside of downtown Pittsburgh, and it really tore up and destroyed a bunch of buildings in the neighborhood.
I worked in Station Square then, and we could see it go up the hillside, and tear up through the hillside up to Mount Washington. It was crazy.
Yeah, I didn't really believe that could happen, because they always say in a tornado, the safest place to be would be on a hillside, and that is the tallest hillside in Pittsburgh, and it just got demolished.
Yeah.
Part of it. It was, the devastation was not, rampant, but there was maybe like a couple of blocks at least, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I was just watching I like watching failure videos online of people taking videos of a tornado, like a whole crowd of people just filming it with their phones. And I'm like, you realize it's not going in a straight line. Like it could double back.
Oh my God. Well, that whole thing fascinates me. Storm chasing. I used to not even be able to watch those, because I could just imagine being there in those situations, and it's terrifying. Why would you choose to do that? You choose to go there.
My aunt used to take my grandmother out to try to catch storms. They had like a Cutlass Sierra, Like it's not like they had like not that any vehicle is going to help you, but you think like that big truck from Twister, right? And you got some equipment to track it. They'd just be out there in a car just trying to find a tornado. Never found one, as far as I know. I mean,
Was it a
they would have been
twister
in
or
Oz.
was it somebody's nylons being spun back and forth behind the camera?
That's the best way of doing them.
Yeah.
Coffee grounds for flies, like phenomena.
That was brilliant. I have to say
It is.
that was pretty brilliant. Argento got away with some crazy shit.
Yep. It worked out. By the way, Shudder played that was the Shudder secret movie tonight. Was Dark Glasses, the new Argento movie.
Yeah. You liked it, didn't you?
I really liked it. Yeah, I thought it was fun.
You liked it, didn't you?
You like Hitchcock?
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, you like Imelda Marcos? Hey, you like his other movie? Hey.
What do you like now, huh? You wanted to watch a movie.
Dark Glasses? Hombre Negra?
Carlo never killed anyone. That lady freaks me out at the end of Deep Red, and I love that moment when he's walking down the hallway and you suddenly realize it's her face in that mirror.
The other part of Deep Red that freaks me out is when he gets pulled by the car. It's kind of comical for a second, then all of a sudden it's not funny anymore.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's brutal.
Yeah, it's a wild scene.
And then a garbage truck runs over him, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the guys in the truck are, ooh. This is me practicing to be on Shudder's 100 best moments in horror. It just want to be one of those talking heads where, it's really the best of the sequels. If you say that, you get on those shows, and that's where I want to be at.
You always get the best quotes. You've been quoted on a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, no, but I want to be on one of those shows so I can be like, and that's where Bruno Mattei shot the inserts, and that's all I'd be in it. That'd be my whole part. Look, I was, of course, talking about 99 Women.
Watch for this Jess Franco cameo.
Yeah, I know, just like a little tiny Jess Franco mention. But there was a Jess Franco movie at the drive-in, and that's good.
That was so exciting because I hadn't seen Count Dracula since I was a kid. And for some reason, it seems to have sort of people just kind of forgot about it. I don't know. Maybe that's not true, but for a long time, it wasn't on video anywhere. I never saw it, where it was available until it was recently rediscovered or reissued.
Yeah.
Rediscovered.
I think it's in one of the movies that puts a lie to the fact that he's not a good filmmaker because it looks really great. It's just nice. And I really like it's lush and it's like it's not as good as Venus and Furs, but it has similar look to that, like the feel of it. So it's funny watching that and then realizing like 20 years later he'd be in a hotel room with a camcorder, shooting a ballroom in a hotel, making movies about alligator women. But your career lasts a long time. Same thing as the Argento thing. Like, yeah, that's why I'm excited about this movie because it's good. It's like as good as it doesn't have the camera shots of opera, but it's as good as opera. It maybe makes a little more sense than the storyline of opera, but I really like opera, so don't take it that way. People are always like, "Yeah, you don't like Argento?" You're always like, "I love him," but we can all agree that sometimes some movies are better than others.
Just because he's great doesn't mean everything he does is great.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. I'm like that with some people though, but with him, it's just like it's real hard because it's like I think that's the thing. If you're an Italian filmmaker, either be universally shitty all the time and have some glimpses of greatness. Do you know what I mean? Or just be fucking weird, or like be really good at the start of your career. Or that's going to happen.
Christopher Lee does make a terrific Count Dracula, and this I think that's probably my favorite portrayal of the Count was in Jess Franco's Count Dracula, because it was one of it's the closest to the novel I think that has ever been on the screen. Somebody always changes it, But as I watched it this weekend, I started to realize like they even kept the ending the way it was, with them chasing a cart pulling Dracula's coffin.
Yeah.
They changed the death of Dracula a little bit, but who cares? It's good.
Yeah, but it looks great. And you know what I really liked? Christopher Lee is Frankenstein's monster too. It's that movie had Curse of Frankenstein has such a different look of the monster, and I love the Hammer conceit that it's really the doctor is the main character and not the creature. It's so
Yeah.
different from what Universal did, and I really dig that about those movies. And we got to see a lot of great trailers too. It was just a whole when the trailer for the Golden Gun came on, like I almost like knocked my car over in excitement. I was like literally like jumping up and down. It was really
Lots of
exciting.
Christopher Lee trailers. Meat Hook Massacre.
Yeah. Could you hear me laughing in my car as far away?
Meat Cleaver. Sorry, Meat Cleaver Massacre. Yes.
I'm obsessed with that, but the idea that they got one past Christopher Lee in that.
What does he care?
He was a secret agent. I think he's a little smarter than that, you know. But
well, maybe it was maybe it was equivalent to like, you know, someone who was a secret agent 40 years ago trying to learn how to use a cellular phone. Maybe something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. But I actually dig that movie. It's on Tubi and Shudder right now. If you're into seeing it.
The thing that really shocked me was how bad To the Devil a Daughter is. That was sort of, I couldn't believe how rickety.
I really like that movie. No, I really like that movie, and I can fully admit that it sucks.
I like it. I didn't say I didn't like it, but it was just kind of like, it wasn't as high class as it wanted to be.
No. Well, Dennis Wheatley said the writer said after he saw it, he was like, you're never allowed to make another one of my movies, The Hammer. Like, I never want to see you make a movie with my stuff on it again. So I like it, but yeah, it's like if you compare that to, we really got to see the alpha and omega of Hammer horror, the first and the last at the show when you think about it, Curse of Frankenstein and The Devil a Daughter. I gotta say, The Wicker Man was great to see at a drive-in too.
The Wicker Man.
Yeah.
I kept thinking about the Nicolas Cage version when I was watching that. I was like, how could things be so similar and yet so different?
Yeah, I don't, I've been watching some of that director's movies too. They're on the 90s Mill Creek set. The same director did The Wicker Man, and he never really made any horror before that. So it's just a strange, like, how they seized on those of whatever themes the seize on. It's not made to be an action movie. But I guess if you're going to make it different, make it different.
I have some interesting things to show tonight.
Ooh.
First off is Drive-In Asylum contributor Robert Fries has written this novelization of The Brain That Wouldn't Die. Now, you need this in your library. The Brain That Wouldn't Die. Come on. Aha. Did you read it yet?
I haven't got a chance to.
I haven't either. I told him, I was like, Robert, I don't know.
Well, I just watched the movie the other day again. So.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to commit to actually sitting down and reading this, but just the fact that the novelization of The Brain That Wouldn't Die exists, that's enough to make you just a little bit happy. And I think
I know they have like a special edition one that comes with a whole kit of like lobby cards and stuff.
Just the idea of being a head in a dish in a laboratory, sitting on a table in a laboratory, is mind-bogglingly terrifying. And The Brain That Wouldn't Die just gets right to it. It cuts to the bone. And I'm sure Robert's novelization will cut to the bone as well. I can't wait to read it. The Brain That Wouldn't Die. And there's also this fabulous new fanzine that came out, Apparition 31. It's all about,
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's all about Halloween. And these folks were kind enough to ask me to appear in it. They interviewed me about Haunt, my Halloween fanzine, and it's just about all sorts of Halloween ephemera. There's a whole feature on this is on vintage McDonald's Halloween buckets, and
which are coming back supposedly.
I mean, it's all laid out right there, and if you're obsessed with things like this, like I am, this is gonna really make your day. A whole gallery of pocket screamers, like all those things that you squeeze and they scream at you. I never knew there were so many, and we have a couple of them. And there's a whole segment, of course, on Halloween blow molds. Just maybe like 6 pages of images, and there's blow molds that I really I never realized that they were out there until I saw it in the pages of Apparition 31. I'm sure if you just Google that, I don't really know what website where you can buy it. Just Google Apparition 31. And you'll also be able to read this interview with the creator of fanzine Haunt, which is me. And the new issue of Haunt is going to go on sale this week. I just finished it. It's like about a week late. I like to get it out at least by September, but I had a lot on my plate this year, so it's finally done. And look for it on the Facebook page and in the Etsy shop later this week.
Awesome. I have 3 things going on in Pittsburgh for anyone that's in Pittsburgh who would be interested. On the Thursday, the 13th at the Harris Theater, the Timekeepers of Eternity is playing, which is an awesome movie. I've got to see it at a couple of fests. It's the Stephen King TV movie, The Langoliers, and it's completely reanimated as cut paper and remixed and re-edited. It's really weird. And Bronson Pinchot is insane in it. So it's pretty cool. I'm shocked it's playing there. And then on the 20th, the Out There Halloween Mega Mixtape, which is WNUF Volume 2, is playing live. And the creators are going to be there, and they're going to have a cocktail hour and have all sorts of crazy prizes and stuff. So that's on that. And then on at the Parkway Theater in McKees Rocks on the 27th, the last Thursday, Trick or Treat is playing, and Ragman, who was Skippy on Family Ties, will be there in person to discuss Trick or Treat. No, not the modern Trick or Treat, the Trick or Treat that I like. That's the heavy metal Trick or Treat.
No false metal Trick or Treat.
No false metal. Yeah, snag the big fish. The bait is you. I know way too many lines. Anyway, and also if you live around me, the Brownsville Drive-In is having. Tonight's probably not a good night for it, but all through October, horror movies, the drive-in. Next weekend, they're going to have, I know one of the screens, Bill, is Rocky Horror with Little Shop of Horrors, the newer one. And it's not that it's new, it's from the 80s, but you know what I mean, not the Roger Corman one. And Terrifier 2 will be playing there too, which is probably not going to play anywhere else on a screen in our area. And the crazy thing is you can rent a bonfire seating, which is a table, hay bales to sit in, a s'more package, and your own fire for the movie. It's $99 for up to 6 people. So that's kind of cool.
I can't say anything about their policies for the bonfire, but I personally was wondering if you had to bring your own stuff to burn. And if you have stuff to burn.
They actually will have all the stuff set up for you to burn, like a burn pit.
Can we bring charred bones to throw into the fire?
I want to throw that stuff that changes the color of the fire, that like glittery stuff you throw in that they sell. You can make my own fire.
Throw in a handful of those black magic snakes.
Oh man!
Did you ever do that? It's
oh my
amazing.
God! When I was living in our old house, my brother put out like 100 of them and spelled his name with it on our porch.
Oh, that's not good.
His name was burned into the porch for a long time. I think it was gone finally by the time Becca moved in. But like right on the edge, I could see it all the time. I'm like, oh, fucking Noah. Thank God his name's not long.
Yeah, there could have been more than 4 letters, and then you'd have really been in trouble.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you know what else is playing? Is that the 20th, maybe, for The Shining? I think it's October 20th. The Shining's playing at the Oaks Theater, along with free beer tasting. So if you want to see The Shining,
Free beer.
Yeah. And the Oaks is a pretty nice theater to see movies in. So I saw Friday 13th there and Friday 13th too.
I've seen lots of stuff at the Oaks.
Yeah, it's a nice theater.
It is. It's a beautiful theater. I had one problem at the Oaks, and it was when I went to see Suspiria.
Uh-huh.
And I took a bunch of friends who had never seen it before, and I was really looking forward to the experience. And there was a problem with the audio. And it wasn't only a little problem. It was like everything was gone except this really high treble band, and everything was like tinny and grating. And no one else complained. I was starting to get really.
There's one movie that you want to hear with its soundtrack.
Yeah,
you know,
like no one complained about it, and I was the only one that went up and said, "Hey, there's something wrong with the audio in the movie," and they were like, "Huh?" And nothing changed, and I was really disappointed because my friends were like, annoyed by it. I said, "Well, it doesn't sound like that."
Yeah. Oh man, that is sad.
You couldn't even hear the dialogue. Like the dialogue track was way in the background of the audio mix.
Oh man.
But it was on 35 millimeter, obviously.
Well, there's that. Yeah.
I saw Suspiria a couple of times. Right around the first time I ever saw it, which would have been in the very early 90s. I saw it at the Rex Theater. And that was,
I remember to play the Rex.
Yeah, that was in 35 millimeter. And then shortly after that, there was a screening of it at CMU. And it's just like in their student union. And someone who went there told me about it. And I said, "Did you have to be a student to get in?" And they were like, "No, just come over." And we watched it, and it was amazing. Brilliantly
not
colored.
to make you jealous, Bill, but I talked to Chris Erickson, who's in our chat sometimes, and he is in a theater in Chicago right now, an all-day screenings. And guess what the third movie was?
What?
Messiah of Evil.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was Messiah of Evil followed by Texas Chainsaw, which is pretty wild.
That's a train wreck.
So, and the last movie is Demons, so it's like 13 movies. But yeah, he keeps sending me like scenes of what's coming next, and it's like, wow. I said I got to tell. He said he had never seen Messiah of Evil, believe it or not. And,
I did tell them who I was, Darren. That's why they wouldn't let me go back in the theater. They made me leave.
I am noted film. What would be the right Cat Ellinger way to describe? I couldn't think of a good shorthand.
Oh my! Shots fired.
Yeah, sorry. He is I am noted film historian and pop culture archivist and tastemaker Bill Van Ryn. And you would of course had a cigar. Like, I will put this cigar out on your fucking forehead. Gadfly about Pittsburgh. I've seen, but Bill turns on that attitude. It's might not want to be there.
I smile too much. I can't pull that.
No, he's like, he's like, Bill, maybe, and he was just like, slap, and he just got me, and it's on my head's already. He's like, no, it was years ago too. He left his mark.
It gets really red before Sam does the show for some reason.
Yeah. It's just when we get closer, it's just like that mark. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Bill, I have had enough of this, and that was it.
Those stories they've never been substantiated.
Yeah, I'm doing a whole zine just of Bill's story, blockbuster scoop, tell all rag,
Billy
driving
Dearest.
Asylum Babylon that's coming out.
Billy Dearest.
Billy Dearest. Yeah. Try to think of another good one.
Billy's Keeper.
Billy's Keeper. Oh, Bill, the last thing I want to tell you is I watched a movie, Don't Mess with the River Beast. It's it's a movie about a river beast. This whole studio, these guys, Maltern Media, that make these movies, I'm gonna get their movies to you, Bill. You're gonna love them because they're kind of supposed to be horror movies, but they're mostly two guys in a room talking about life while a river beast is outside killing people. And like the last 10 minutes, there's like 8 river beast murders, but everything up to then has been like a meditation about life and teaching people. It's really fucking weird. You're gonna love it.
It sounds like a better version of My Dinner with Andre.
Well, it's kind of like if Andy Milligan grew up in Boston and had a little more money, and was a singer songwriter. The movies are really weird, but the other thing is they did there's a flash in that movie every time the river beast shows up, and the beginning of it has like a William Castlelake guy explaining why there's a flash in the movie and to warn you about the river beast. So it's pretty wild.
I love the Flash gimmick.
The weird thing is, though, in one of their other movies, Local Legend, there's a scene where the main character, Matt, says, "Hey, here's my phone number. Call or text me and tell me what you think of the movie." So I did, and he answered almost immediately and texted me back. And he's like, "Hey, how do you like the movie?" And I was like, "Pretty good." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, I put it in there because I like talking to people." So imagine the strangeness of speaking to a character in a movie while you're watching the movie. Very odd. But,
that goes beyond surround sound.
It does, yeah. So I thought that was the coolest gimmick ever. But Bill, I think you're really gonna like these movies because they're kind of like they're very 50s movies that don't have a budget. So instead, just have like weird, like romantic segues and stuff, you know. And it's like maybe the monster's not good, so we won't show it to you till right around the end. But they're really good. There's another one called Metal Detector Maniac. It's about a guy that has a metal detector that everybody thinks a serial killer, but they can't figure out why, so they decide to kill him. It's pretty good. They're like weird. Like if Kevin Smith watched Roger Corman movies instead of the other movies he watched, and just tried to make Corman movies, that's kind of what they're like. There's really no great description, but I've watched 4 of their movies in the last week, and I have 2 left, and I'm like really excited about them.
The horror horn, I love on-screen gimmicks because you know the kind of gimmicks that they had to pass out to you in the theater, those are forgotten, but the on-screen gimmicks live forever, or at least as long as the movie does. Like the fear flasher.
My 2 favorite on-screen gimmicks are the werewolf break.
Yeah, werewolf break. We've talked about that movie Corpse Eaters before, right?
Yeah.
There's an on-screen gimmick in the Corpse Eaters. It's a guy throwing up into his handkerchief or gagging into his handkerchief. They're like, before we show you anything gory, you're going to see this guy gagging into his hanky. A brilliant gimmick.
And I like the Mr. Sardonicus gimmick, which I do not believe that there's another cut of that movie. I believe that William Castle only made 1 cut, and it's the ending where, you know.
Oh, I thought that was a thing. You mean there's a rumor there was an alternate ending?
Yeah, there was because he said in his biography, he's like, of course, his autobiography, of course I made 2 endings. I wouldn't do that to anybody. I think it's bullshit. Yeah, I don't think that there's 2 endings at all.
I'd never do that to anybody. That's a good one, William Castle.
Yeah. And he insured you for fright. We should do that on the show. We insure everybody that watches it from fright while they watch Manos. Don't tell anybody the ending.
We can't insure you from annoyance, but we can ensure the fact that you will not be terrified by Manos, the Hands of Fate. I dropped the link into chat. Should I do it again before we go?
Sure.
Why not?
I'm watching it. I don't know if you guys have it, but if you don't, look how cool the cover is for the Synapse release of it.
It's just beautiful.
It makes it look like it's really scary.
I'm not sure if the version that I linked to on YouTube is that version of the film, that print restoration, but it's been restored. The version that's up there, it looks pretty beautiful. So we're gonna watch Manos. For those of you who are watching it for the first time, and I know a lot of you already said that you hadn't seen it yet, so that's exciting. You're gonna see it in the most beautiful way possible. And it's all cleaned up, and like Sam said, a lot of the rough edges have been smoothed out, So that may or may not work to the film's advantage. It's going to expose a lot of the film's low budget, but I think you'll be in agreement with us that this sort of adds to its charm. Hopefully you will, because you're watching this
I'm
in the
excited.
first place.
There's a first time viewers. I'm like shocked by something like Sean and Dustin haven't seen this. So I'm excited for people to see this for the first time.
All right. So make sure you come back afterwards. This is a short movie as well.
Yeah.
It's only 70 minutes long, something
Yeah.
like that. So we'll be back in a little over an hour, and we'll wait a little bit to make sure everybody catches up. We're all in the same place. We'll see you here back after the movie for the second part. Really good score. They're still going through. I should take them in, see if they can clean it out or anything. They did, and it didn't take